from her childhood.
My family was settled in New York, and they were very proud of their folk culture, so they had nicknames. My father was Pari, my mother was Darky, we had Uncle Tuntun. So as kids, we just laughed at these funny names. It turns out Pari is the nickname from Opare, a family surname.
Duncan contacted an African cultural specialist at the Smithsonian who traced the words to the language of the Akupim tribe, an ethnic population in Ghana. She also found a slave trader's journal from the 1660s containing records of a man who shared her father's name. After reading dozens of rare historical journals, Duncan was convinced that her ancestors were brought from Africa to Jamaica more than 300 years ago, where they escaped from their British conquerors and fought to keep their freedom. She even found a Scottish ancestor.
We had forgotten that we also have heroic ancestors among African Americans. When people struggled to register a child's birth certificate, when the penalty for doing that was death, that's a major accomplishment.
But Duncan wanted scientific proof to support her theory. She persuaded University of Arizona researchers to help her compare her father's Y chromosome DNA to Ghanaians living in New York who were related to the Akupim tribe. The results showed that out of 43 DNA samples, 30 had the same gene sequence as Duncan's father.
The Y chromosome goes from father to son to grandson virtually unchanged. And as long as there's an unbroken chain of males in that family, that Y chromosome will remain virtually the same for centuries.
Professor Bruce Jackson is co-chair of the DNA Roots Project at Boston University. He's compiling a DNA database that would eventually allow African Americans to link themselves with specific tribes and ethnic groups in Africa that were once the source of slaves. And several other universities have similar programs to help blacks find their pre-slavery roots. While Duncan did years of painstaking research, the daily addition of DNA to these databanks are bound to make it a lot easier for others.
What do you think we all can learn from knowing something about who we are?
We live with ethnic labels, with racial labels, with gender labels, and sometimes we forget the human connection. And searching for ancestors, you begin to realize these were just human beings surviving the best way they could.